Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me. Today I'm doing a technique that uses both dry embossing and heat embossing. And I had bought this Hello Die, I think it was a Pink Fresh Studio October release, and I got it home, and then I was like, I have no idea what to do with this dye. So I've been kind of experimenting with doing this dry emboss with the heat emboss. It is not by any means a perfect technique, but I think it is fabulous for using the dyes in your stash in different ways. So the first thing I did was I took a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock and I dusted that pretty liberally with my embossing bag. And then I'm setting my Big Shot up to emboss only and not cut. So I have it on the first tab and I've got my rubber mat down, and then I'm going to set my piece of cardstock on the rubber mat. I'm taking Versamark ink, and then I'm going to take my die and I'm just going to bounce it, and the ink is going to, for the most part, go on the raised areas of the die where the die would normally cut. The ink is going to, that's why I'm trying not to smush it down. I'm just trying to kind of like bounce it lightly over the top so that I get the ink on there, but that it's not getting in any deeper, like over those raised lines that are the cut lines. So then you want to very carefully set it on your paper, because if it moves any, it's going to move that in the ink a little bit. And I think I did actually move it a little bit when I did this, but I don't think it's super noticeable. And this, like I said, is not a perfect technique. It doesn't come out perfect, but I still think it's a great way to kind of experiment with the dyes in your stash to do different things. And it's a great way to kind of stretch your supplies. If you have a die that you just absolutely love and you want to put it on a card, but you don't want to cut it out, I think this is great. And, you can do a lot of different things with it. So I'm taking the Ranger Gold Tinsel embossing powder, which is a very sparkly embossing powder, and that embossing powder is kind of going into the grooves where the dry emboss was, and it's sticking to the Versa no, I want to say VersaFine, but Versamark ink. And then I'm just going to go ahead and set that with my heat gun, and then I'm going to color this using my Spectrum Noir aqua color markers and one artsy watercolor marker. And I got this die, and I'm not great at like Copic coloring, or not Copic necessarily, but I don't have Copics, but alcohol coloring or colored pencil coloring. And so a lot of the coloring I do is kind of organic, so it's not really like specifically within the lines. And so that's why I like using inks with water. I think it's really organic, and you get a different look every time. And so that's why I wanted to go ahead and use that technique for these cards. And so I'm just coloring the edges and spritzing with water and kind of smoothing out where I want the ink to smooth out a little bit or move a little bit. But the colors that I'm taking, I believe I got these markers when Hobby Lobby was having their crazy sale on everything for a period of like a month. And so I'm not sure what set this is, but I know the colors are lemon, wildflower, and spice. And then I'm going to take the orange watercolor pen from Artsy and put a little bit of orange on the card also. I tried to make the colors a little more fall themed. And I'm just I had a top for one of the plastic dollar shoe boxes on my work table, and so I just went ahead and grabbed that, and it actually is perfect for cleaning up the mess. So now I'm taking, I believe this is the wildflower color, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to spritz it and get that color to spread out. And the colors, this kind of embossing, it's not as raised as, say, a stamp embossed image where you have the ink, and because the dry embossing kind of makes grooves in the card instead of raised up, so they're not going to act like as wells as, and I mean that in the sense that a lot of times when you do like a stamp embossed image, you can sit there and do the watercoloring on it and it'll stay within the area you want it to, just because the images are a little bit raised. In this case, they are not raised. They're more recessed into the paper. And really, you can use any medium that you want to decorate this card. Like I said, I love water with color because it's very organic. And then I don't have to stress myself out about coloring in the lines. And I love the way it turns out for, most of the time. And so this is the completed card pretty much. I did go ahead and create another panel using the same technique with putting the ink on the paper because I wanted the hello letters to be stand out a little bit, and so I did that, and then I thought the orange was a little too bright, and so then I took another piece of cardstock and put Versamark ink on it. I just rubbed the pad on the paper and then covered that with the gold tinsel embossing powder, and then I used the die again to cut out the letters. And then I adhered those over the orange, so it's kind of an orange shadow. The gold letters are offset a little bit. And then I just took some foam tape and adhered it to the card. But these are the two negative spaces, so I could use these also for 2 more cards. I would just need to find the little center for the O, which is probably on the ground somewhere. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my Perfect Pearls. Again, I did this technique a few cards ago, and so I'm just taking the Perfect Pearls, and then I am using the Morning Dew crystal drops, and I am just putting that right on top of the Perfect Pearls because it looks really awesome. The colors I used were Taffy, Bisque, and Daffodil, and that will complete this first card. The sentiment is hello, and then hope you're having a great day. I will leave links below if you are interested in any of the products that I used for either of these cards. So the next card, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going, this time I'm using watercolor paper, but I went ahead, I took my watercolor paper, I used my embossing bag over the top of that, and then I took this die, which I'm not exactly sure where I got this die from. A lot of the stuff that I purchased previously was used, and so I have a lot of stuff that I have no idea what brand it is or anything. I did the same technique. I ran it through my Big Shot machine, and this time I'm using this Wow metallic silver embossing powder, and I just think it gives so much definition, and as you can see, it isn't perfect. There's a little bit of embossing powder outside of the normal, but it's not a huge amount, and it just looks really cool. And so I did one more where I just am using circle dies. So I think I have a wonky die, I have a scalloped circle die, and then I just have a dotted circle die. And I just wanted to show that you can use like any dies if you have, some square dies. And so this one was very messy, and the black powder doesn't look that great. I didn't actually make a card out of this, but as you can see, it does work. And if you use it in different ways with different colors, different background colors, it will turn out gorgeous. So I hope you experiment with some of the dyes in your stash. So last time I made a card using the Nuvo shimmer powders, and I had some questions about the brushos. I have the brushos. The difference is mainly that the shimmer powders have shimmer, the brushos don't. The brushos, as you can see, I didn't sprinkle that much color on the card, and depending on how much water you use, how much the color is going to move around and how much color you're going to get. This is turquoise, I believe. And so I just sprinkled that, and then I sprayed it with water. I love both the Brusho and the Nuvo shimmer powders. I think they're both awesome products. So this color, I believe I'm taking purple, yes. And all I've done is sprinkled some of the powder onto my plastic surface, and I'm just taking a paintbrush to distribute that on the leaves a little bit. And I know it looks really ugly kind of and messy. And sometimes that happens. I myself wasn't sure that this was going to turn out okay. I think it did turn out okay, but when I was doing it, I was like, oh, Jen, what are you doing? You just ruined the card. But I just wanted some greens and some browns in there. And so I'm just kind of mixing the color around. And then I take a paper towel and mute that. If you take your heat gun and run it over the image again, it will kind of bring out that embossing powder again. So you can see it a little better, which is what I ended up doing. I put a paper towel on the whole card just to wipe it down. And here I'm just showing, this is my color book. I keep all my colors. So those are the Nouveau and those are the Brusho. So as you can tell, the Nouveau's got a lot of shimmer and the Brusho didn't. But I wanted to use the Brusho this time just to show that they are beautiful colors also. And to finish off this card, I've just heat embossed the word you, and then I have popped up a heat embossed Are Fabulous in white embossing powder. And I went ahead and I went over the card again with my heat tool, and it kind of brings out that silver embossing a little bit more. And then for these like DIY confettis, I just took some glitter paper and my hole punch and put a few of those on the card, and that will complete the card. Thanks for making it through the video with me. My voice is kind of off today, so I apologize for that. But if you are interested in the products, the link as always will be below. If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I really hope you like this technique and that you try it out yourself. There's so much you can do with it, and I definitely will be making more cards using this technique. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.